A young port in a new state was rapidly growing in the 1800s, and a new sport with distinctly Australian rules was beginning to emerge in Victoria and South Australia. In April of 1870, Messrs Rann, Ireland and Leicester met with the purpose of forming a men's social club. What emerged was the Port Adelaide Football Club, which is now the oldest established football club in the state of South Australia. The original colours were blue and white, and the first game was played on the 24th of May in 1870 at a local ground known as Bucks Flat. The original colour scheme was changed to rose pink and white in 1878, then again in 1883 to the memorable magenta and blue, colours worn in the club's first premiership the following year. In 1877, Port Adelaide was there for the birth of the South Australian Football Association, later to become the SANFL, and by 1881 the Alberton Oval was the club's home ground, with the first grandstand being constructed in 1903. In 1902 the colours were again changed, this time to the famous black and white, and the magpie was adopted as the club's emblem. Although Guernsey designs changed, the colours didn't until 1995, when a new strip was unveiled for the club's entry to the National League. While black and white were retained, teal blue and silver were added, and the nickname for the AFL would be the Port Power. Port Adelaide has a record second to no other football club in the land. The first flag came in 1884. In 1890, the club was again successful, and this time took the national title as well. 1897 saw the flag return to Alberton, and by the turn of the century, Port Adelaide was beginning to build its proud history. Flags in 1903 and 1906 followed, then one of the club's great eras. Local premierships in 1910, 13 and 14 were added, along with the national champion status in each of those years. The 1914 team was never beaten and ranks with the club's greatest, but the success was stopped by the Great War. Great names were made at Port Adelaide in this period. Sid Malin, Jack Mack, Shine Hosking and Jack Ashley were awarded with Magarey medals, but others like Ongi Kongia and Harold Oliver also shone. The club and the country rebuilt itself after World War I, and premierships came again in 1921, 1928, 1936, the state's centenary year, 1937 and 39, before war again forced the competition into recess, although a patriotic league did continue. The war also interrupted the career of one of the club's greatest, Bob Quinn.
And I knew that I had to be the one to represent our family. So consequently, it was a very, very serious thing to me, and that's why I just walked out of work one day and walked around to the recruiting office and just joined up without telling anyone that I was going to do it.
Quinn had won the 1938 Magarey Medal before going to war. He was badly wounded in the leg, was awarded the Military Medal, and against all the odds returned to win the 1945 Magarey Medal as well. It took until 1951 for the next flag, but what followed is unlikely to be seen again.
It changed the face of football for South Australia too. I mean, we were, as you said, almost unbeatable, and the other clubs didn't really cotton on to how we were playing the game, and they still stayed in the doldrums, really. Nowadays it's a handball job, but I mean, we kicked the ball quickly all the time and made an attack straight away from the back line, straight through, and this confused people. The quickness of the player hitting the ball, the other clubs couldn't cotton onto that at all. Bob looked after the administrative side, and I looked after the football in itself and the footballers, and that worked out very well. We didn't cut across one another, or if we had suggestions to make, we certainly made them.
Well, we just expected to win all the time, and there wasn't any doubt about that. We didn't go out onto the ground and ever think we were going to get beaten. We were a close-knit club, and we kept having players come into the side. I was a little bit older than Motley and Hayes and Peter and Obston, Bubbles and these guys, and as they came in one by one, Rexy Johns and these people, it just kept topping the team up all the time. And
the ultimate came, I suppose, in being able to coach a side. In my first year as coach, we won the premiership in 1959 and only lost the one minor round game for the year. And I was very proud of that because it just had that little bit more significance, being coach, because you had a bit more to offer to the end result at the end of the year.
When we came back, I remember John Abley writing, he used to write in the paper in those days, and he said, we'll win again now that Foster's back, and it occurred on 62 and 63. We won both of those down here at that time.
It had been a lean period because we hadn't won a premiership for a while. We played 71 and 72 and lost both of those grand finals to North Adelaide. And then gradually built up. John Cale took over as a coach, I think, in 74, and by 76 we had a really good side. I think we lost a couple of games for the year and that was it, and red hot favourites. And it's one of those times where you run out on the ground and you're super confident, but too confident, and I think we were. And there was 70,000 people there that day. They were jam-packed in the place. They were out on the oval, they spilled out everywhere, and Sturt were just, they were the underdog, had a lot of support. We got off on the wrong foot. None of us could get a kick all day, and we lost miserably.
I think that I was to blame a lot for losing the 1976 grand final. Wasn't mature enough. Jack Odie, I think, beat me on the day. And I say that without reservation, but it taught me a lesson from that day onwards. I was going to do things my way.
After the 1976 shellacking by Sturt in the grand final, I don't think I've ever seen or been involved in a club since that was so hungry for success in 1977. And when that final siren rung in 1977, it was mixed emotions of excitement and relief and achievement, and just really the whole club to a person just shared in that 1977 grand final.
Taking us a bloody long time, but by Jesus, worth it.
And I saw people lined up at Football Park, and I thought, oh, I hope I don't let you down again. And that was a terrible feeling. It was the longest day of my life, and having won it, it was just tremendous. I felt so much relief and so much happiness for the people that had put in so much.
Yeah, 77 was always going to be a good year after 76 because that was really painful, 76, and losing the grand final we should have won. And we all knew that, and while we went through the year with our ups and downs, we still finished very, very well. And the 77 grand final was just sensational. It was, for me, the best grand final win. 79, 80 and 81 were special years, and you're lucky when you're around the place and you happen to be appointed captain and you've got a premiership staring in your face one year and then the next year and then the next year, and a side that was like the 1980 side was just an extraordinary side in terms of talent, and to be involved in it, let alone to lead it, was terrific.
1979, Russell went to Melbourne, and we were down on numbers. We'd lost some players, and I think that was a very courageous.
We were a class above the opposition in that particular year. As I said, Russell won the Magarey medal. I was fortunate enough to win the Ken Farmer medal. It all gelled in with each other on that particular season, and probably that was, looking back over the 12 years I had here with the Port Adelaide Football Club, that was probably the best side that we did have, in that 12 years. And we were just a very, very good side.
88, probably my memories of that was David Hines' effort in ruck against Peter Carey after Jono got rubbed out for 5 games, which was an absolute rip-off. 89, I would say, would have been the best team that we've fielded since I've played. I reckon 89 was a fantastic unit. It was incredible, and we really did only have one opponent in North Adelaide, and the result was on the board on the day. But they were a damn good side that year. You look at their lineup; they were fantastic. 1990, of course, was a very, very difficult year with the AFL thing happening, etc. We lost a few players as well. That was a good result in the end. Buck said he wants to win the Jack Odie medal, doesn't care what else happens, and I said, right, I'm going to have a word to him. So I went up to him and I grabbed him and said, hey, what's all this about you wanting to win the bloody Jack Odie medal and don't worry about anything else? He said, oh, that's rubbish, that's not true and all that. I just want to win a premiership medal. I said, well, that's the way it should be, all right? And he's come up to me and he said, I hope we win the premiership and I get best on ground. Because there was no way during the season were Port Adelaide going to win that grand final. Nobody was going to beat the Eagles as far as everybody else was concerned. And just the way we did it, being 6 down, getting back, slowly clawing our way back. Everybody in the state, I think, admired us.
6 goal down, I thought we were dead and buried. As a coach sitting up there, I thought, I hope this is not as humiliating as it was in the AFL that day before, which it was. And then all of a sudden, just before half-time, I felt the game just change.
Awkward-looking kick. If they can get one here, it'll make a world of difference. Here's Scotty. Here's a chance for Hodges. Can he take it again? He has! Hodges, McLeod! Goal the Maggie! Where's Hodges? He is the danger man at the moment. He's got it. He can get through. He's got a chance around his body. Spear now. He's caught. Tackle. Scotty Hodges. Desperation.
I thought just towards the end we were the better team, and it was a very hard. I just felt a lot of relief after the game. Not so much ecstasy as I did in '94 and the other years. I just felt a lot of relief, and I think that's come up with all this carrying the I suppose the burden of this crusade, etc.
The 1995 Premiership was the club's 33rd, including 10 of the last 19. And additional Magarey medals went to Bubbles Obst in 1967, Peter Voigt in 1977, Greg Anderson in 1986, Scott Hodges in 1990 and Nathan Buckley in 1992. And throughout all that success, some truly great names contributed both on and off the field.
I thought they were two of the most outstanding football people that I'd ever met. In fact, Bob McLean and myself were good friends, and he was a strong supporter of me joining the league when I did in 1962, and throughout my time with the league he was very supportive of me. And as for Foster, I got to know him very well after he'd completed playing. He was manager of some of our interstate teams, and he's a fantastically enthusiastic guy and a marvellous football person. Those two in particular you'd seem to think would be irreplaceable. They're not really, because other people come along like John Cale and Brian Cunningham, who show all of the attributes of being just as much a force in the club as those two people did.
I wouldn't be unkind to say that he didn't know too much about coaching when he came, but he was a quick learner, and he became a great coach, and he was a great player as well.
Well, Foss, I've always said, was the greatest leader by example of any football player I've ever known.
Foss as a coach, and the way that he coached footy and the way that he went about his personal life and business and whatever, and he's still around the place, and though we see less of him nowadays, he just sets an example of discipline and hard work and persistence and all of those things that'll get people somewhere.
Foster Williams, he was exactly like my father, very demanding, very supportive, very courageous, and he wouldn't ask you to do anything that he hadn't achieved or done himself.
If I ever, wanted some advice, that's where I went. And I always collected plenty of good advice, and I couldn't really. Oh, he was just marvellous to me, just a wonderful man, and of course he proved that in many other directions too with a lot of other players.
People wouldn't want to forget the fact there was a guy called A.J. Swain who was the president at that time, and he had a marvellous influence on Bob McLean. Bob McLean's performance was excellence, with excellence without doubt, but he was strongly under an influence of A.J. Swain, who was very marvellous, and Foster, I think, worked very closely with him too. The endeavour to do your best in whatever you were doing was there, which I was pleased about. And after the war, when I came back, I didn't know whether I would stand up to the game or not, because I was badly shot in the leg in the Middle East. I was very thankful that it saw me through the years after the war, and when I retired, I knew that I had to retire. I wouldn't have changed my life for anything. I knew what my duty was, and I had to satisfy myself. And when I came home, I had to satisfy myself on the field as well.
Well, I've always said that any full forward is as good as the fellow players up the field.
Certainly coming down to Port Adelaide and meeting Foss Williams for the first time, and also Bob McLean, who was the secretary at that stage, was certainly a shock to my system just to see the operations of a league club. I had coached the previous year. That was the end of a verbal agreement, so the committee had every right to make a decision. but when a president comes around representing the committee and tells you you've got the job one day, and then soon after the president who's representing the committee of a club reverses that and says you haven't, well then I think that person and the club or the company or the body that they represent, they lose a lot of integrity. And unfortunately, I think the Port Adelaide Football Club lost a lot of integrity and professionalism in not the decision, but really the handling of it.
The Port Adelaide Football Club has been blessed with people prepared to work hard for the success it wants and gets. And that desire and achievement has built over decades into something intangible. An asset that you can't put your finger on, but tradition is a very good label for it.
When you got involved, the tradition of it rubbed straight off onto you, and the players in particular, more than the administration, used to pull each other into gear to make sure that people really realised the importance of wearing the jumper and how well it performs. So tradition is the key part.
I think the other startling thing about Port Adelaide that really stands out is that if there is any internal trouble, no one ever knows about it from outside. They keep all of their problems within their ranks, and I suppose to sum it up, they are a very professional club and always have been.
The closeness of the players, I think, was a big factor in my staying on. You know, not just for 2 or 3 year contract, but as I said, I stayed up here here for about 12 years.
The good feeling amongst everybody that was down here.
One of the greatest things about this club is how everybody's really close, and you know, not just now but throughout time. And I can honestly say that I'm good mates with Bobby Quinn, who played here in, you know, bloody the 30s and 40s.
The individual awards seemed to pile into significance when you represented the Port Adelaide Football Club, because it was all about the club being successful.
And there's so much aura about Port Adelaide that I walked into the change room and I looked around. I'd come from South Adelaide where you just play the game and win, lose or draw. A lot of the people didn't really care. But at Port Adelaide it had that feeling about it. You could smell success even then, and you could smell the discipline.
I really achieved all I wanted to achieve. My way of thinking, my utterance and performance was always to be just part of a successful Port Adelaide Football Club.
The club atmosphere, the closeness of the players, you know, the old history of the club, which made it all sort of gel into one happy family, actually.
It was always a wonderful club as far as I was concerned. I was tickled pink to be invited up here, and consequently I received a good bit of advice from my dad and my brothers who played here before me. And I was well versed in what I was supposed to do, and the idea as a young fellow is to keep your mouth shut and to concentrate on trying to make yourself a decent footballer.
The culture of the club, we are basically working class. We work hard to see results, and if you don't work hard, you don't get it. And I think that's probably the basic reason that we've been successful.
I didn't think of anything else as a school kid, and if I played league footy, that's where I would have played, no matter what.
The structure, the history, the tradition of Port Adelaide, and just the general makeup of the Port Adelaide Football Club really teaches people to be experienced. They teach you to be leaders. They teach you to be disciplined.
When a National League started in 1987 without any South Australian representation, what became the biggest story of 1990 should have been an obvious step for the most successful club in Australia.
Ever since Port Adelaide played Geelong in a trial game earlier this year before a huge crowded football park, there's been talk that the Magpies would one day join the AFL without the backing of the local league.
It was the best kept secret, Bruce. I think there was an approach by the AFL to us. Would we like to consider coming into the AFL? And that approach was through to Bruce as our chairman and president. And we decided as a board that if we were to sit down and talk to everyone logically about it, all the other clubs and all, it wouldn't happen anyway.
I was devastated because Port Adelaide, along with the other league clubs, had put their hand up at the league meeting in May to say that we're all strongly united together and that we would remain that way. Port Adelaide as a club had always been strong supporters of the league and always believed in doing things in the correct way, so that it was an act of treachery. I can't resolve from that, and I was more than disappointed. I was terribly upset by the backdoor method that was used.
I was peeved when the first attempt was made. I didn't agree with that.
They went about it the wrong way in the first place, and of course that went all wrong, and I'm disappointed in lots of ways that the SANFL had very small vision, in my view, in not structuring the two sides that were inevitable.
1990 didn't surprise me, but once again it was done the wrong way, and history has showed that, and I think the scars from that are still being borne out today. But I think they lost a bit of integrity and another degree of professionalism with the way they tackled things in 1990. But of course now we know that professionalism has been restored and the club has been rewarded with what they set out to have in 1990.
When Big Bruce got up there and did the announcement, etc., and I think everyone was pretty well taken back. But it was an exciting time without a doubt, because we all thought, wow. But real mixed feelings, because nobody really knew it was going to be a good thing or a bad thing. In hindsight, they were doing the right thing as far as I was concerned. But at the time, there was a lot of mixed feelings.
Well, at the end of the day, I think the first few months when the Crows were out there, it was disappointing. It did hurt. But it's like losing a grand final. You know, that grand final was lost, and we had to get ready for the next ones.
Okay, let's do it.
Port Adelaide should be South Australia's second AFL team. That was the overwhelming response to our 7 Nightly News phone poll.
What I consider the real football clubs of Australia, a real hard-nosed, tough, prepared to work at the game, to develop the game as a part of its structure, particularly in Adelaide, but also in Australia. And Port Adelaide was one of the clubs that I earmarked as a club.
Certainly is an antagonism towards the Crows, and providing it's kept in its right context, that's a very, very good thing. And I think they'd make an ideal club to add to the AFL.
We've got a team there that's been a traditional competitive team that's dominated the local competition that everybody either hates or loves, and you can understand why people think, well, here's a natural division between one group of football people and another group, and if we can somehow harness those.
I think it's been a very difficult period, and I don't think people really, especially perhaps supporters, don't really appreciate how difficult it's been on a team to keep coming up and carrying the crusade. Really, that's what I sort of treat it as, carrying the crusade year after year, having to win premierships. But this time it's been, you've got to win this year because we've got to keep our face in front of the AFL, we've got to keep winning, we've got to keep this ball rolling.
Without question, the side that should have first been in the AFL competition from South Australia was Port Adelaide.
It was a day we'd waited a long time for, and an announcement every Port Adelaide fan had been dreaming of for years.
The second AFL licence subcommittee unanimously resolved that the Port Adelaide Football Club tender be recommended to the South Australian Independent Commission as the successful tenderer.
If you're going to play footy, you've got to play on the best, and that's the best. So, yeah, sure, that's where you've got to be.
I'm very proud of them that they can launch into this thing on their own.
With the right management, they'll perform correctly, and provided they keep their feet on the ground, some sides don't.
When we received the 3 submissions and went through them, the Port Adelaide submission was quite outstanding.
Take it away. I'm pleased to advise all our supporters, all our followers of yesterday and today and the future that the new nickname will be
coming through that night was just a fantastic night. At first I thought, geez, I'm going to look like a moron coming through here, I'm going to look like an idiot. But when it actually happened on the night, and the people were just unbelievable. I think that night really said to me how feverish and how passionate our supporters are. I mean, running through the crowd and all that, it was honestly felt like we'd won a grand final or something like that. It was that feverish, and I just couldn't believe it. And they're obviously going to be very passionate about when the team makes the AFL. Getting away from the prison bars for one hurt. I'm a very big fan of that. Getting away from black and white only was pretty hard, and getting away from the Magpie. So to come up with something as they did, it's come up all right, I think, and it's really going to be the changing face of footy anyway.
I thought the new Guernsey was good.
Now the club was all dressed up but didn't have anywhere to go.
It's official, Port Adelaide won't be in the AFL next year. Unable to convince two Melbourne clubs to merge, the league has refused to expand the competition to 17 teams to accommodate the power. The only good news, that will happen in 1997, but by then most of Port's players may have already left.
The saving grace is that we know we're going to be in the AFL competition, and that's expected in 1997. That being the case, then we've still got things to look forward to.
The perfect present failed to materialise when the AFL forgot Port Adelaide's invitation to its 1996 centenary birthday party. The club was ready to go, but must again be patient. Record profits, membership and support for the move into the National League all must wait another year. But at least it's not a matter of if, now it's just when, and the future of the Port Adelaide Football Club is assured.
We're waiting on the AFL for something definitive. We expect to get that by the middle of next year at the latest, because it's important for our club and important for South Australian football that we know that we're in the AFL.
We will continue to get ready for 97, and we'll be there in 97. They haven't given a definite date, but we would hope to know something probably April or thereabouts next year. And we believe it won't be dependent on a merger, that they will, as they've said in their 5-year plan, they want Port Adelaide in, they want a second side, and they'll go to 17.
We'll be pushing very, very hard to ensure that a decision is taken very early next year to ensure that Port Adelaide will be in 1997.
I know that it's a hell of a lot of work to put, a team that's going to be competitive right from the start. If we can get the right players, this club will do very well, so long as we keep the system together, keep the administration as strong as it is, and the coaching side as well.
Each generation comes along and they look at the records and they feel proud to be with Port Adelaide, but they also want to contribute. It's just something that is bred into them. It's also bred into the supporters of Port Adelaide, that they expect a certain amount, and the boys feel that they have to give their best.
That you have to work hard to earn success and not just pay for it or wait for it. I think that's right throughout our club, and so again, everyone throughout the club would really be very keen to want to win and succeed, and not just, they expect to win. I think that will continue through in the future.
I'd like to play in that first AFL team, and I'd like to play in the first AFL season.
I think the first day that we actually play our first AFL game will be a very historic occasion, and then the first day we win that AFL flag. I think that's what I want to be alive and see.
25 years, Port Adelaide definitely will still be here. I probably think they'll be a very powerful, very strong club.
They have been successful on the field and off the field. The next 25 years there'll be just no change from that. Their direction has always been to play in the best competition and be competitive in the best competition, and they will be.
I'll certainly be barracking for Port Adelaide every time they're playing other than against the Crows. There's no question about that.
It's like any challenge. You look forward to it, and we're getting a taste of it now and enjoying it. So we've a lot to look forward to.
There's great things ahead of the club, once they're in the AFL and start to build a side, I'm sure that they're going to be successful, but it might take some time.